Right, so I've got my Bockingford paper and I'm starting off by giving it a good spray. Just making sure, running over it with a brush to make sure it's nice and wet. There we go. Now the first colour I'm going to put down, at the moment I've just got three colours out. I have got a cobalt, I have got a permanent rose, and I have a lemon yellow. So I'm going to start off with my cobalt. Quite dilute, I want this fairly pale, but I'm going to be spraying back into this, so it's going to run away with the colour. Then I'm going to pick up a bit of my rose. And then my lemon yellow. And then coming back down with some more of my rose. And then the cobalt down here. I'm going to spray this a bit. This is going to dilute it down. That is currently upside down. Turn it back over the right way. Now I want a bit more of that yellow visible, so and lemon yellow is quite an aggressive colour, so can you see it's pushing some of that paint out of the way. And I've just got a piece of paper towel. I'm just going to dab a little bit of that out. Pick up the puddles along the bottom, and then we need to let that dry before we continue. This is pretty much dried. I've put a piece of tape across just to give me an area to work in, and I'm not worried so much about a straight line, but I am worried about not coming down too far. So I'm picking up some more of my cobalt blue, and I'm going to just come in. I'm going to have two brushes on the go. So I'm going to put that on dry. I think I'm probably going to re-wet. Let's do that. Let's re-wet down to our line. So I've re-wet the paper. Coming in with my cobalt. Thinner lines going the other way. Then I'm going to mix my cobalt with some of my rose. I don't like this rose. more red. Some pinker rose. Right. That's better. Pinker rose. Coming back to my cobalt, just adding a bit more of that at the top here. Be careful that bit doesn't dry off. A bit more of that cobalt and my rose together. Down here. I'm going to clean my brush and dry it out, and then I'm just doing a little bit of lifting out. I want to put some more of my lemon yellow in. Picking up some of my lemon. Now coming over to using my round brush, and I'm just pulling out where I've got a bit of rain. So now I'm just putting some smaller marks in as it's beginning to dry off. So those are my big shapes. A few smaller ones now, particularly as we come down to the horizon. All these pinky colours down this corner. And just keeping that rain at bay. I'm working vertically, which makes it easier to film, harder to paint. So I've ended up with this light patch there, so that's where I'm going to keep my sunshine. And back to my cobalt and rose mixed together. Just a few extra clouds just down. There's quite often clouds on a horizon. Kind of need to leave that to dry a bit. So my sky's just about dried back, and I'm going to come in and start working on the sea. I've got a smaller flat brush, and here I've got a mixture of my cobalt and some of my rose, but it's 90% cobalt, just a touch of that warmth in there. So So I'm putting that in and then washing it out a bit. I don't want to cover over all of that colour I've got underneath. I want little bits of that to come through. And I'm going to pick up underneath where my sun has ended up, I'm going to pick up more of my rose colour. But I'm trying not to cover all of that background. That's my light going on there. And then as I come across, I'm going to pick up more of that cobalt again. Dry my brush out a bit and just spread that out. Right, so I'm going to pick up some more of my rose and dilute it down a little bit. It's not as strong as on the horizon, but we're just going to do a bit of sideways scribbling as we come forward. But I'm just going to make sure I leave that background colour shining through. I covered over a bit more than I wanted to, so I'm just going to clean my brush and just lift a bit out. Pick up a bit of my yellow as well. And the rose mixed together. Right, so I'm now going to come over to a round brush because I want to do a bit more dry brushing. Now I'm coming forward a little bit. So I'm coming back to my cobalt. Tiny touch of the rose into it, but mostly cobalt. And we're laying the brush down and just dry brushing in from the side. Keeping my marks as horizontal as possible, and where they go a bit awry we just work them a bit. So I want to leave gaps between where we've got some sort of breakers lifting. You do look and you just see little bits you don't like and move, and that's all fine. So in between these I want here to have a bit more colour, so where it's underneath my sun I want this bit to have a bit more colour. It kind of fades out. Okay, so again coming back into our cobalt mix and adding a touch of my rose into it. It's a little bit darker, a little bit stronger. Oh, we've got a stronger wave coming across here. I'm going to wash this out at the bottom edge so we don't get left with a hard line. Just perspective is just making it slightly thinner on this side. I'm also going to have, just here, we have some little bits of nothing, because I've just painted over it all. I'll come back and fiddle with that in a bit once that's dried off a bit. So stop fiddling with it now, woman. Right, so I want quite a bit more of my rose. Coming back to my flat brush first, and I'm just going to put a bit of a wash of the lemon yellow in first. Then picking up my rose. comes out cobalt to the sides. Still pale, still room for work. Then I want to make a dark colour, and it's going to be mostly cobalt blue, but I'm going to add some of my rose in there. And oddly, to make purple darker you add yellow, so we're still only using that 3 colour. To give me sort of a bluey brown. I'm going to leave a little gap at the edge there. I'm just going to fill this piece in here. I'm not worried if I get little bits of white flecks, that's actually quite nice. Okay, and leave it alone. Let that dry. Okay, so that's dried back a bit and I've drawn my groins in there. And I'm going to do the same thing I've just done down here, but a bit stronger. So I'm going to make a brown. So I'm using my cobalt blue. I'll use my cobalt blue and my rose. And then add some yellow into that. A bit more of the rose. And we end up with this browny colour. So for now, needs a bit more yellow. I'm just going to pop these in. We can shade and do other things to them later if we feel like it. But to start off with, they're just going to be blocked in. Make up some more paint. Finer brush to do these little ones at the back, just so I don't, because they're quite fine. So this one comes in front of my wave. This one is in the wave. And these ones are behind the wave. Okay, so let me have a think. Okay, so I'm coming back and I would just like to add a little bit more strength on that horizon. So I'm going to take my cobalt blue with a touch of the rose in it, mostly cobalt blue though. I'm coming back in with my nice big brush here. I'm just going to draw that along the horizon, just using the flat edge of the brush. Then I'm going to take my little brush before that dries. I will swoosh it out, she says, before it dries. I'm going to add just little bits of detail, a bit of extra strength. And as these disappear into the sea, I'm just going to do a few little horizontal marks, just showing the ripple of that water. So at the moment I'm more concerned, I'm not worried about the reflections, we'll do those in a bit. Now this one, there's a little bit of splash as that one comes up right behind those two. Just coming with a bit of ripple into this wave. Now there was little bits of breaker coming over here just as this wave starts to curl. I wanted to put in along there. So we've got all sorts of waves swirling around these grinds. So I'm going to put this sort of shadow edge onto a few waves. Sort of one that comes up here as well. This wave has shading in the middle of it. We've got more waves just edging out. And obviously there's a big one there, but I just wanted to leave this bit quite soft. Because we need to put some froth in it. So in here we need to put this sort of lace edge to the sea. And then right at the edge, just got this sort of white line. I'm just going to bring this froth and foam in various degrees of colour. A bit more peachy coming through here. It's just leaving those little bits of, well, it's not white, is it? It's that background colour that we did. little bit of this lace edge stuff just along the edge here as well. Again, just layering it up over what's already there. Right, we are getting there. Now I need to remake my dark with my 3 colours. Again, I'm going to put a little bit of a darker side on these foreground ones. And then I'm going to come in and start shadowing, or reflecting, should I say. So we get about that far, and wash my brush out and fade it away. So let's do this closer one. Now this one's in amongst all the sort of frothy edged bits, so again here we're going to have a nice clean reflection there. Start here to fade it away. Now what is going on with that bit? So I quite like that bit where it sort of just fades out. It adds quite a lot to it. needs to come down slightly more. Before it fades away. We are nearly there. So I just need more of my dark. I'm adding a bit more blue to it. And I want to come along this edge and make that darker.